Ou deixa sua bunda ardendo, ou dá tapa, 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 cara.
Welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now, exploring your inner authority. I'm Michelle Jones.
And I'm Scott Collins.
And this is the place to connect with your highest, most essential self, your most empowered self, where you can explore your inner authority and learn from others and learn more about yourself.
We talk with fascinating people from all walks of life about transformation, healing, hypnosis, astrology, physical experience of being human, and heart-centered living.
We're so thankful that you're here with us. Let's dive right on in. Hi, and welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now. I'm Michelle Jones, and I'm here with
Scott A. Collins.
woohoo, Scott A. Collins today, my brother.
Yeah.
Episode 32, Net 5, Gemini season. Coming in hot.
Coming in hot. Flipping both sides of the brain.
Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks you so much for having me today and helping me navigate my technical. I can't be good at everything. I like to model imperfection, so I start with technology.
It's kind of where Scott and I live, so you've definitely come to the right meeting.
Love.
I said,
But yeah, tell me about your podcast.
so our podcast explores different aspects of empowerment, everything about how you live spiritually, how you live emotionally, how you live physically, how you're living in terms of the combination of all of those, as well as heart-centered living. It's really, for us, I think that we use as our themes of kind of how we set what we're doing, Donna, we use the collective consciousness, which I would call pretty much the best thing that we have is we use astrology. Scott and I are both, he's Scott more so than I. He has a degree in physics, and then he's really a polymath person. And I'm just kind of a wannabe who loves to be with folks that speak that language. So we kind of have that as a backdrop because we know that's where the collective awareness is just kind of coming from thematically, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And utilizing any of the, the empowerment of selecting the modalities that can really customize for each of us individually, the way to do those things that Michelle was just talking about. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, there's pretty much the world is our oyster these days, especially with these phones and computers, and then with the people we attract in our lives to creating our own customized, I call it martial art situation to navigate life,
Yeah.
empowered as possible. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of just having conversations with lovely people like you about our ascension process and kind of aspects of ourselves that we want to merge our earth self with our higher self.
Beautiful.
That would kind of be just like,
It.
yeah, as much as possible.
Well, great. I don't know. I mean, we could talk days on these topics, so this will be fun.
Yeah, today we will get into
Studied under a polymath for 15 years. And so he's the quantum physics, neuroscience, human behavior, and inspiring, mastering, expanding all 7 areas of life. What prevents us from doing that? Helping become a conduit of consciousness to flow through you. Yeah, how to access that. All the things are the things I'd love to talk about and share and again, have conversations with like-minded, inspiring individuals. So thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being
thank you for being here.
grateful.
We wanted to talk about today, which is that behavior speaks and kind of the hidden power of communication in actually creating change. Because there's a lot of folks that are in flux right now, in the larger, collective, the group, the herd, whatever it is that we're part of, that's greater than us, but yet we get to decide where we participate in that and where we don't. And I think that during the times that we're in across the globe, where people are starting to take their freedom, if you will, to claim things, I think that there's a lot of communication occurring, and there's a lot of things happening behind that I don't know that the average bear, number one, has the time to even contemplate. And the second thing that I would say is that I don't know that people understand that communication is the most powerful thing that we can do to actually evoke change from within ourselves.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, I have a lot. I would be curious more on what your perception is of communication.
I guess that it would be the thing that we engage in a loose way every single day that we don't pay a lot of deep attention to. The interface of two or more. Well, there's the internal communication, which could
Yeah, I think it's important to not limit communication to just
be
verbal.
external, right?
Yeah, it's like very important that like energy and tone and all those things be all those other things in physics included. Like sometimes it's more. I mean, in music, we really know that it's like tone is way more important than what the actual word is. So, like, yeah, the energetic
Mm-hmm.
representation of what you're communicating, the receiving.
And I think that there's a lot of elements that we've never unpacked nor been taught directly about communication, that the behavioral patterns, right? The emotional regulation that's involved in how we speak to ourselves and others, right? I mean, in college, so many of us take communication 101 for this external, like, oh, how do we interface with people in a business setting? And there's something that's very powerful about how communication can shape things from our own identity to relationships to like outcomes. And so I think that it's one of the most powerful topics that we can speak about, and to have an expert like you that's the founder of Evolve Coaching, the DeMartini method, like you have a lot of tools, and I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself, if you will, Donna, because your bio is pretty astounding. And I mean, if I could just like go through just like the brief, but I want to hear what you're most empowered about and what you feel like is the most salient in this. Okay. So Donna Parker is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is a facilitator of the DeMartini method, the advanced synergistic. She's an advanced synergistic play therapist, which that just delights me at so many levels, because I work with children as well as adults, and play is an important part of what we do. She's also a parent educator and an EMDR practitioner that has over 25 years of clinical practice under her very competent, capable, and fabulous belt. And I just wanted to hear, Donna, what you're feeling most empowered about in your life right now. And I really am looking forward to us diving in. Oh my gosh, my son, this is such a Gen Xer moment. He redid my sound for a new microphone. The microphone is fantastic. The camera is like on some wobble, and one never knows when it will wobble. So pardon.
Isn't that a metaphor for life? We just adapt, right? You just flow.
Right. Well, the earth wobbles, so why wouldn't we?
Right. There you go.
That's right. That's right. And with some good emotional regulation, we just kind of flow with the waves, I really think so. So, Donna, tell us, what you're feeling most empowered about in your world right now.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so honored to get to share this time with both of you. Thank you for having me on. Yeah. For the last 15 years, I've studied quantum physics, neuroscience, and human behavior. And one of the things that I love to teach and help others access and lighten up is the actual divine hidden order that's present in every moment of our life that we're often just not present to reveal what's in front of us. And so I love to help individuals look at all 7 areas of their life and how to master them and how to actually live in alignment with what is truly meaningful, purposeful, and inspiration to them. And often individuals, we don't even know what that is because we're living in a life out of shoulds and by duty, from what other people have injected, what you should do, what you should think. We're very mechanical. And so we're often domesticated from a young age. And then we start creating a life out of trying to please others and subordination. And so I love to help individuals become aware and in alignment to what's really, truly meaningful and purposeful in their highest values and give them permission to live a life out of inspiration versus desperation and create a life really from design versus duty and obligation.
Mm.
That's
Beautiful.
so beautiful.
And I love, give a little shout out to Louise L. Hay, Deep Bow. Whenever we hear the word should, I love how she so simply stated, just replace it with the word could.
Good.
And what that does with your self-hypnosis, that simple tactic.
Yeah, I love that. But I also love using it as I should. Well, who says?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
could. Like,
Yes.
do that, but why? Is it because I don't want to disappoint someone else, but I'm willing to disappoint myself?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like, I agree, but I love to look at it and go, okay, and who says? And what's my intention behind it?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're actually living in a life out of inspiration versus to live for other people and for the approval or making others okay at a cost to self, which is what leads to a lot of burnout and takes
Yeah.
back from what's truly meaningful and alignment.
Obligation is a really disempowering, experience that many of us put ourselves through the paces with, which is very freeing to, be able to say to people, I jokingly say to clients, we shouldn't should all over ourselves. And I think that examining what's really behind that and informing that is so powerful because the people pleasing, the obligatory, what are others going to think? It really, I think, especially, and this is maybe a terrible gender characterization, but I work with a lot of women. It's kind of like a 70-30 split in my world, if you will. And I feel like as women, many of us have a tendency to harmonize everybody else and the dissatisfaction that we might have. That's amazing that you look at these 7 areas. Could you tell us more about that, Donna?
Sure. And I want to speak to what you're talking about.
Yes.
The pattern, and I think I appreciate what you're saying because we learn at a young age, male and female, right? I'm worthy of love if I show up in my values of my family system. You learn quickly, like whatever it is, if I look the ways, if I'm getting the grades, if I'm achieving the athletics, if I do what I'm told without arguing, whatever it is, right? And even in the family system, when you understand the energetics will balance, right, which is the gift of duality, even in the family system. I love helping family systems, look at the perfection of how we have opposites even in the family. But I appreciate what you're saying, because I think women in particular, and I think we get to that midlife connection or crisis, whatever you want to call it. And it's, this information that comes in that, the perception of they've given, right, to keep peace on the outside while the war wages on the inside. But even in that altruistic part of self, there's the narcissistic self that is like, I can be okay if I can make everyone okay. And there's something really beautiful and empowering in actually checking into, because it can be like breathing to abandon self. And so I as well, Michelle, with the women that I see in my practice. Although I think men, also have that in a different way, and they
Yes,
themselves in a different form as well. So,
for sure.
yeah,
For sure.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a fascinating, because, it does go back, the patterning, to, and I was a Montessori educator for a lot of years. And so really that 0 to 7, the absorbent mind is so powerful. And I feel like in Gemini season, this is like such a quote unquote heady season, if you will. And to realize that that absorbent mind from that young age is still operating within us in the patterns and the behaviors. And I would say, but I would let y'all say this, rather than myself, but in the communication, it's patterned very early.
Absolutely. And we are hardwired in our physiology since the beginning of time, like an animal, to seek pleasure and avoid prey. So if I'm seeking a prey, because I want to eat so I don't starve to death and die, right? So I see something as positive, I want to figure out how to seek it. Or if I see something as negative, I want to figure out how to avoid it, because I don't want the predator to come and attack me, so I don't want to be eaten. So when we have those perceptions and these hard wiring, we're literally wired like an animal in life to seek and avoid, right? But that actually is the source of our human suffering, because we're actually then camouflaging to fit in, just like animals, because if I fit in with the herd, I can be in survival and I can have a perception in my nervous system of safety, right? So to actually step out of the herd and the herd mentality, and actually give yourself permission to get out of obligations and shoulds and masturbating, and actually stepping into your authentic self, could mean death when we look at the way that we process through the nervous system. So many of us spend our lives unconsciously in mechanicality in the animal mind, from the amygdala, seeking and avoiding pleasure and pain. And so that's one of the things I love to help people break free from, is how to step into their authentic nature, right? Which is the actual stepping into what's in alignment with your soul. But that's really challenging, because we have to get away from all these masks and personas that we've worn to fit in, to have safety and value and approval. So it's a really beautiful process of unbecoming and actually remembering, right? Like remembering what's in alignment with our soul and our purpose, and why we're here.
Oh,
What's one modality that you could just throw out there right away that can help someone with that unraveling in a day-to-day life scenario? Not in obviously there's things we can do daily to put a lot of time into. But what's like one tool that someone can use, just like a Cliff Notes version of it, where they can tap into it in a tough conversation? Or, how do you sense in your body whenever that old programming is coming up, and something you can do to help yourself pause and, like, say, respond instead of react?
Mm. Well, I love that question, because I think part of it becomes with the breath, right? Like if I can actually be present enough in my body to actually know that I'm feeling a threat or attack, or getting activated, but individuals have to be present enough to attune to the contraction in the stomach, to the tightness in our chest. So I think a return to the breath, a return to the body, regulating the nervous system. Because if I'm not in a state of regulating the nervous system, the animal mind is running my life. So then I can actually access the mid prefrontal cortex, which is the seat of the self, which actually we have the opportunity in those moments when I return to breath, come back to the mid prefrontal cortex, to get our executive center online, where we can actually see moments of our life as full quantum. And what happens is when I'm in the survival of the amygdala, I see life as happening to me, not for me. And then I'm wanting to seek and avoid, but all of that's not my true self. Right. So the only way that I can come starting to be my true self is actually creating that neuroception of safety in myself, where it's not dependent on the outside world. And so part of it is returning to the breath. And then in every moment of your life that you have a perception of terrible or your pain, there is also simultaneously entanglement of a terrific. So you can't have duality present. It is present. Stacey Adams' theory, it is present in every moment. So through some of the method and through several modalities, I love to go help individuals take the most PTSD, their perception of traumatic, to the point that we get them to the point that they wouldn't change it, and they can find the blessing, the wisdom, and alchemize their pain to purpose. Because otherwise, anything that we're running away from, we run into. And we're in bondage to anything we haven't loved. So anything like a magnet in the electromagnetic field, that if I'm actually seeking a positive and I'm scared of a negative, I'm actually going to bring it in to get me into the middle. Right. So then I'm not living a life out of fear. Right. We're living in inspiration versus desperation, back in the mechanicality of the animal seeking and avoiding.
That's great. So it feels like you're saying that, like, Michelle and I refer to this as noticing charge. If you get charged from an experience, right? And if you, first of all, just trying to be aware enough to notice if you feel that in your body, and then recognizing that that feeling or emotion is actually information. It's intelligence and information coming to you, and it's okay to feel that. It's okay to experience it and not shut it out. Actually experience it. Then that can help you with the mind and access some neutrality and lock into those parts of the body. Thanks for sharing that. That's great. What are your thoughts on that, Michelle?
Thank you.
I just no, I wanted Donna to finish because it's so powerful. I think she was going to respond. Please, Donna.
No, I just was saying, Scott, thank you for saying that, because that's one of the other things I love to teach as well, is that every moment in your life is feedback, right? So our fear isn't something to run away from. It's like invited in, like Rumi says, like a cup of tea is your fear friend, right? And we're like, come here. What's the whispers? What are you trying to share? Because all the feedback is just a guidance system that's trying to bring us into the middle balance and into alignment with our heart. And so if we can invite it in, because if we're resisting, it's persisting, but most of us, and it comes back to even present enough to know that you're even feeling a charge. When we're in survival, if you're being chased by a lion, you don't have time to go, oh, what do I think? What do I feel about this?
Yeah.
Like that has really served us to have that survival strategy. But many of us are still living from addictive patterns in the hardwiring in the brain in that survival state. So that gift of pause, of returning back to presence, returning back to the breath, where we can actually give ourselves the opportunity to use the moment in front of us and see how it's happening for us, and invite the wisdom in and the feedback that comes in many different forms.
Yeah, that's so on point in my opinion, because I like to bring astrology back into it a little bit as we're moving into this Aquarian age. I do feel that a lot of what you're talking about is the root and sacral chakra survival element of our energetic being. And then we're actually those of us that chose to be alive here now, are part of the tuning up. Like the new root will be the solar plexus. Like
Solar
actually,
plexus.
for most of the earth, we're like don't have to exist in those fight or flight scenarios like you're describing there necessarily anymore. So we can move, like actually literally tune ourselves up. But like that's what's going on amongst all of us right now. We're all learning and embracing and adapting to that.
It's really beautiful because we can access those energy rich states.
Mhm.
Yes.
And there's many ways to access those energy rich states. Um, there's many ways through the body to access it, where your body can create its own electromagnetic field. And there's also literally, balancing our perceptions. You know, if someone says that there's a tiger in front of you, your neurochemistry, that every cell in your body is going to change to run.
Yes.
But as John DeMartini says, if it's Tony the tiger and he's like, you're great, and he's going to give you a hug and give you some breakfast, you're like, oh my gosh, and you're hugging. Every every subatomic particle in your body is changing to that experience. So much of our perceptions, decision, and actions also, again, based on past wiring and programming, really do, those neural networks and templates are very much a part of how we experience. So even just knowing that not to trust our perception in a moment, because often it's taking data from the past and bringing it into the future. So learning to just connect and breathe so that there's actually a chance in my perception to get the head and heart coherence, where we can actually attune and listen to the whispers of the soul, where we can be a conduit of consciousness and life can flow through me. And I can take this human Donna and all her Academy Award-winning personas, again, and invite them in without judgment. Whatever we're up to, I love to help people see the brilliance in every moment of whatever it is you're up to, so that we can see life happening for us, not to us. But then we can also start to become conscious creators. Otherwise, we're a victim of our history, which won't allow us to master our destiny moving forward.
I love how you mentioned without judgment, because earlier when I said placing should with could, and you said, and for who, or for whatever it was you said, that was exactly what I experienced in my body, the removal of judgment. And I feel like that's such a powerful thing. Like if you have one weapon or tool that you can like use for a listener out there that can help you remove judgment from any situation, it's so empowering. And you also mentioned breath, right? And so I'm also curious. So to be able to like tap into that in stressful moments or in life, is it valuable to cultivate maybe a daily breathwork routine when you're not in those environments, so that you have that sensibility to tap into when you need it? Like how important is it to do breathwork basically as part of your daily non adrenal acted life?
I think it's going to be different for everyone. Every individual is going to have different ways of accessing. For me, meditation and breath work is just how I choose to start consciously creating in the day. And so it's very valuable. Or the cold plunge, where I'm accessing some of that Wim Hof breath. For me, that's in alignment and a high value, because you literally have to activate the vagus nerve, right? And all the good things that go along with that. So, but I am very mindful to not, for some other individuals, they can access those states by walking. Some can access that states again by equilibrating mind body connection. And so I think we can have, or running the energy centers in their body and in integrating breath. So for me, what being, coming into that space of it, intention, because where we're not just letting the mind run on its dramatic stories, that then we can just wake up and put the frequency of the past and all the stories, and then, oh my gosh, I have to get up, and that vibration, we might as well just put that on our future. So for me, I encourage, how do you want to go into that day? And for me, it's a practice of breath, meditation, yoga, gratitude. But I'm not just gratitude for the people that support me. in that moment. I'm grateful for what are the greatest challenges I had and what was the wisdom and why. It's easy to love our heroes in our movie, the supporters and the roses, but it's like, no, like who came into my movie and played the villain? Like that is such a worthy role. And so to look at the challenges as happening for me and what's the wisdom I got to learn. So again, that practice of gratitude. But the second you equilibrate your mind and you're out of judgment, you literally are balancing and regulating the autonomic nervous system that automatically balances the brain, gets it into the theta, the delta, the brain waves. Obviously some meditation, you're going into the gamma burst, but you're balancing and you're getting in that head heart coherence, which is going to actually help you access, right? The field where you can actually tune in and listen to what's in alignment from more of like sort of that access from your higher self that is the thrival versus the living in the past patterns of survival and mechanicality, because this is just what I've always done.
Mhm. I think that you are so spot on and gifted at breaking down the internal patterns that occur at a very just animalistic sometimes in a survival, right? Versus a thrival mode, but also from the patterning that we've just experienced from childhood, which we've articulated. One of the things that I heard you say, Donna, that I really want to revisit because it was just this diamond. It was just like jumping out at me, which is that every single moment is the gift. It is the opportunity. It is where all of our power exists. And that in and of itself, to me, if I were just like a listener and I wanted like just the diamond, if you will, in all of this very rich soil and territory that we've been covering, is, some people believe that the present was present, right? That your higher self, and you and God consciousness agreed to every single thing, from the heroes showing up to the villains to the facets of who we are, how we're interfacing, and to love in a way that is a demonstrative form of gratitude. That right there is just, I think, the key to so many strifes and ills and dislikes that we have within ourself. That if we can embrace it all and have gratitude for it all, I feel like gratitude is one of, if not the most, outside of love, right? It's just such an incredible tool that we should love ourselves enough to practice that regularly, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
I think it is truly the mark of the wizard. Like gratitude is the ascended master's wizardry wand. It is the way to transform anything, reframe anything, make your biggest challenge, villain, whatever it is, into the biggest asset.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Totally.
Yeah, it's
Wand. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
it's the wizard wand.
I love
It
it.
is.
And I have said this in my morning practice is, how much more can I love? How much more can I be loved? How much deeper can I drop into love for every moment? Because we are it all. We are the hero. We are the villain in the self-reflective universe. What I see in you is me. And so when I can have a love affair with life, it's taken 14 billion years of synchronicities for me to get to share this moment with the two of you. Like that is beautiful. I'm in awe. Like I have a healthy vessel that I get to have this inspiring connection and this inspiring conversation in this space, this time, this moment, in the gift of the now. So thank you for that. And I absolutely agree. I mean, I think when we fall more in love with life, life falls more in love with us. and it's the self-reflective universe. And when you see that you're it all, you can have it all, but you're not even trying to manifest because nothing's missing. You're just coming from that space of appreciation, and then life can really keep flowing through us.
Yes. Brother, you look like you're in deep. You're writing stuff down. Tell me,
Yeah.
what's you? I didn't want to.
I'm taking notes. That's all.
Okay. I didn't want to jump in, but you
No,
know,
please go ahead.
the intriguing thing too in all of this is, if you will, the pattern interrupt that just these moments of communication within ourselves, just about ourselves, the change that that can evoke, like in an instant. To me, that's part of like the power of why we came to Earth School. Like in heaven, when we saw like all the descriptions of where we're supposed to go, like, whoa, look at what I can do in this place. And those pattern interrupts, like I have like this great relationship now with that within myself, whereas it would traditionally manifest previously, like as a frustration with myself, because like I knew better, quote unquote, and you show gratitude for that smart. I always say that I have like the smart ass and the dumb ass sitting on my shoulders.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sit somewhere in between because I'm the reflection of both.
Yeah.
And being able to love those parts of me as much as I love the harmonized, regulated parts of myself, that I'm just like, oh, and I have had a couple of weeks with just some very funny issues in my existence that have really called me to step into this practice, like with such firm awareness that I'm like, wow, I'm loving that I have access to, and it's been like a lot of funny, like work people related things, like the fact that like my painters like sealed all my windows shut. Wow, this is incredible that we live in a time that it can all be fixed, as opposed to that old story, which didn't really even feel like mine. And not to like rat out my Virgo dad, but my dad would just be like, they are blooming idiots. And that just doesn't make my heart feel good. Like,
Well, I so appreciate what you're saying, because so many of us, part of the unrealistic expectation of fantasy of living a one-sided life is literally creating bipolar. And we are wholeness. We are, I am kind, I am cruel, I am selfish, I am generous, depending on, do I support your values or do I challenge them? And your perception of me is a reflection of you. So when we judge anyone, we have three fingers pointing back at self. So it is the wisdom of seeing, again, and loving, it's whatever I'm judging in someone else is really pointing me back to the reflection of what I haven't judged inside of me. And so again, and they're just this beautiful reflection and gift to help invite that into you for what the trigger is. So I totally appreciate what you're saying. And I like to call my part my Academy Award winning drama. And she loves to be on the red carpet, and she'll wear her little dress and look super cute sometimes. And I like kind of look at her and I'm like, wow, that was an amazing performance. Right. But it's the bullshit where people are trying to live this one-sided Zen life that actually, the more peaceful, the more we bring in the war. The more that we try to be in control, we attract out of control. The more I try to be all roses and positive, the more I'm negative. So, actually it's embracing the light, the dark, the juicy, the polarity, and not resisting any of it, and breathing and being with it. And then we're in thrival, not survival, because we're not resisting or seeking and avoiding. I'm just like,
yes,
we're just like being the observer in fascination going, damn, look what I'm up to. And if we can take that breath and take the observation and the separation, then we're not as swept up in unconsciousness patterns and programs of the movie. And the second we can do that, the second we start rewiring the neural network in the brain and the neuroplasticity, Hebb's law, nerves that wire together, fire together. And, you start to then again it becomes more conscious and mechanical, and it starts rewiring the brain. So,
Yes.
Right.
Can we
So
go for our
not
Academy Award as a director?
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Letting
I like it. I like my sequels. I'm really kind of fun to see what I'm up to.
So not resisting is the way then we access that neutrality. And that's what's the opposite of charge. Neutral.
Sir.
Neutral is not charged. In either direction, a charge is a charge, right? That's basically what I'm hearing is like whether it's this or this or this or that. A charge is a charge when we remove judgment. So neutrality is the objective, and not resisting helps us in there.
Neutrality. Okay. Because neutrality kind of feels like the spiritual bypass that most people do, which is indifference, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Big difference between neutrality and indifference. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we look at, right, so if we look at, say, a photon, which is a light particle, and we separate it, so it's spaceless, timeless, massless, but we separate it into duality so that it can become matter, right? It's going to be positive, a positron, or an electron, right? Which is going to has charge, right? So in the electromagnetic field, every subatomic particle is broadcasting and receiving signals of light. So if I can take a moment in my life or any moment in your life, and actually, if you have a top, half of it's white, half of it's black, positive and negative, it's going to go to one side or the other. And if you spin it, right, it's gray, which is more the photonic state, which is spaceless, timeless, massless. But the second I'm in charge, seeing something as positive, I'm simultaneously so say you meet somebody and you're infatuated. Oh my gosh, you love yoga. I love yoga. You study quantum physics. I study quantum physics. You eat broccoli. All you're seeing is the one-sided bias of similarities, right? And you're infatuated. And so what happens is, as we all know, over time, the things that we admire become the things that drive us the most crazy. Their intelligence comes that they become a know-it-all. Like in those fantasies, the nightmare comes in to break us of the addiction to actually see them as two-sided humans. Because we put people, if I have somebody above me, I'm putting myself beneath them, and then I'm going to be prone to injecting their beliefs into me, and I'm going to move away from myself. That's not intimacy, and that's not authenticity. If I'm looking down on someone, I'm judging them, and I'm too pride to see what is in them is in me. Well, that is not intimacy. That is deflective awareness, right? I'm dismembering parts of myself. So reflective awareness is what I see in you as me is into me see, right? Which is intimacy. There is no one's above you, no one's beneath you. What I see in you is within me. And then you're coming back to wholeness. You're not cutting out parts of yourself because you're in too much pride or too much shame. And then you're swinging in the feedback, all the life feedback that we get once you can understand and put the puzzle pieces of this matrix together, that from a song, from a number, from a conversation in the grocery store is all happening for you when you're present enough to actually get present to the magic of every moment. That's all guiding you back to your authentic self in alignment with your soul, which is what we're here to do.
That's deep. Like that's one of the most that has dissertations on in quantum physics how the observer affects the outcome.
The outcome. Yes.
Like in a practical way, in a humanistic, cellular way. That's great.
Completely.
Yeah.
I just want it to be like mic drop and
Totally.
we're out. Like, there's
Well, you guys, we were holding the space together. So thank you.
Yeah.
That's a wiggy.
Yeah, we're constantly observing and affecting everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's reflected back to us.
How cool is that? Like, look what we get to play it.
Yeah.
Look at the playground that we got the golden ticket to come to, right? Like we signed up for this. And to me, I think kind of that again is one of the most empowering things as a human being, is that I get to create every moment. And the more that I actually play with it and engage it and manipulate it, almost like working with like dough. You know how like it's not always your friend. It gets a little sticky. It gets kind of like, and at the same time, it's just gratifying sometimes having that I'm touching this, I'm holding this, I'm experiencing this, I'm with this, I'm building this, I'm stuck on this. All of those different, wow. I mean, from what I understand in terms of galactic consciousness, we really have a privilege that out in the galaxy, it's part of why we have friends that, the indigenous ones would say that, star brothers and sisters have been here and observing for a long time. And I find it so interesting because I think that this sandbox, this playground, this place that we call Earth School is one of the most malleable experiences that one could ever actually manifest. I'm still just like blown away by the observer, right? And the engagement of just like, you might not even know 3/4 of what we've been talking about, but you do know you. You're the expert on you. And having people like Donna that help to engage you, like to become more of an expert on you, to where you're having fun in all of this. And experientially, we know if we're attracting fun, we're going to attract the painters shut, like, they painted the windows shut. Like, that's okay. And the present gift of enjoying this now is just one of the most humbling, awestruck things that I think when I slow down. And for me, it's going outside, it's looking at the trees. That usually sets me like in a very meditative state. I could also be in the desert looking at rocks. It's the appreciation of nature. And all of a sudden, I'm just like, whoa, check this now out. And it's like I want to carry that in my pocket with me and in my heart with me, like in these very, accessible places all the time. And I think that just the love that we bring to ourselves, and just in appreciation of something, in gratitude of something, is one of the greatest behavioral game changers. Like gratitude, again, like the wizard wand, Scott, right? Like self-love. What's self-love, bro? Because you really busted it with the wizard wand.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess self-love is the state that we would just want to resonate in. I mean, like, yeah, that when you are in self-love, then that's pretty much a constant, one rung at a time, ascension presence. I mean, self-love is what could, I think, constantly keep us at least one step away from ascension.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. I had this.
Yeah, that mind.
Yeah.
I think the mind has the ability to make a heaven from a hell, or a hell from a heaven. And it's all about getting present to, again, the perceptions that you're bringing into a moment. And again, when we're stuck in the animal seeking and avoiding, or having an unrealistic expectation of like literally the moments that we're present during the day or in that state of grace and love, it's really not that. I mean, I can't remember the exact statistic on it, but it's also being realistic and recognizing that some of the physiology and the hardwiring and what we're up to, and the having realistic expectations of, yeah, we're going to go back into those unconscious programs, those unconscious patterns, but the ability to start rewiring and, getting more mind, just aware of what's actually occurring around us in those moments of presence. We do start rewiring the brain, but I try to make sure people are very realistic with expectations, because what happens is they get on this trajectory and then beat themselves up because they have this expectation of being in this love state. And I'm like, love actually is the synthesis and synchronicity of complementary opposites. And what I want to say, and that is understanding, God at the grand organized design. If we take, any kind and cool, the synthesis and synchronicity is the middle. There's a moment that it's really wise to be mean, assertive. And that is a gift not only for yourself to speak up for that person. So sometimes people think of love as when I'm in a manifestation or in this rosy state. I'm like, no, love is also going to be challenging you. Love is out of the comfort zone and being uncomfortable. So there isn't actually any moment of your life that love isn't present. And that's what I help individuals actually understand. And so I appreciate that, because actually self-love is just not dismembering and judging parts of yourself so that you can come back to wholeness and remember that there isn't anything you're not. I am the rapist and I am the individual being raped. And so it's actually getting present to, if we want to come in and say that we are one and we are wholeness, but then we dismember parts of ourselves trying to be mechanical because we think this is better or worse. But I'll tell you what, the people that claim to be the most positive are often the one that then have the hidden depression, repressions, anger about then manifesting cancer or physical conditions. So again, learning how to access both polarities inside of us and love all parts. And it is clearing the past density, the past judgments, because that is what will also run future imagine in the future. And so it's an interesting, again, I think so many people on this spiritual quest, they create a hell just from having unrealistic expectations of them being in this present Zen state. And it creates a lot of depression inside them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Michelle, now that I've had a chance to even reflect on that deeper, I think what self-love is the skeleton key. It's the skeleton key that can unlock me to use feelings and emotions as information and wisdom and respond instead of react. Like it actually anchors me into heart and gut intelligence as opposed to the mind. The self-love brings me here. And then therefore, if I'm stuck in that black or white side of the yin yang, it allows me to spin it like that top and get back to the gray, like you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. So it helps me it's self-love is the skeleton key.
That's so brilliant. That's so brilliant, bro. Like, no, I dig it. It unlocks it all. Like first.
Yeah.
It's inviting the skeleton out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get them out.
That's what I thought of when you said it.
There's no reason to hide.
Yeah.
What do I need to help you love in you? There's no reason to have a closet.
Yes.
Let's open. Let's come out of the closet. I love it.
That's right. And Donna, as you were speaking about the duality, that unfortunately within spiritual communities, there is sometimes this vibe of that, you just sit around, oming all day, right? And I have such gratitude. So my family spends a lot of time on both coasts, but I loved some of the knit and the grit of New York, because New York afforded you the opportunity to have to use that side sometimes of yourself that you normally wouldn't put on, like that persona. and learning about like the duality of life as a kid that, went to the theater, with friends and, went to the Chinese restaurant. And, there could be like the creepy dude, like across, like, the sidewalk that's coming at you. And you have to like learn this vibe of, get the hell out of here. And that's the most loving thing for everybody that you can possibly say and do. And, I see friends of mine regionally that, I've lived in the Southeast for a long time. I've traveled like the world. I've been very blessed to meet people from so many parts. And I feel like that's a little bit. So shout out to like our New York listeners, because I feel like that is a part that was programmed into me that not everybody has. Like I have a group of girlfriends. Scott has heard me talk about this. Listeners have heard me. I have some very dear friends I've known since I'm 5. And one of the things that they will say about me, and this is a very polite thing, it's a compliment too, coming from New Yorkers. They're like, you can tell anybody to F off in like the nicest way that like has such a boundary and such a firmness, but yet you really like still love them. Coming
Yeah.
from New York.
I get that same feedback. You can hand someone their ass on a platter and they can somehow thank you for it. And there's some wisdom in that because that is love. Love is that, maximum growth occurs on the border of challenge and support. And yes, as a friend, I'm going to love you enough to challenge you and support you, and in a way that can be heart-centered.
Yeah, because you can still do it without judgment. I think that's the key. Like if you deliver it like that without judgment, if you just deliver with authenticity, then judgment's what ends up polarizing us about so many things, I think. So
I also think
yes.
my Capricorn, bro, you have to include feelings in that.
Yeah.
Right? So there
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
to be like the
Totally.
feeling,
Hmm.
as well, because I think that so many people
Tone.
take
Yeah.
non-judgment to the head.
Hmm.
And I say this as somebody who's like a former giant head, right? And so, like, one of the things you always bring back is in the body. That's like such a wise thing that you always take it back to. So I'm just like, yes,
Totally.
but the feeling.
Yeah.
What does non-judgment feel like? I wanted to ask you both, like that. What does that feel like?
Again, I love this work. I teach this work, and I have to tell you, and again, there's many ways to go to that state, but so many people dissociate in a meditation, and then they can get to that state, but then this charge still comes back around when they get in their body. And so I think that one of the things to get out of there, I mean, there's many ways to access, in my perception, one judgment, but if you take someone back to a moment of judgment in their life and help them look at like a balanced math equation, literally, if they're seeing all negative and you help them actually see the benefits for how it's actually transformed their trajectory in that specific moment, that charge runs time and space and time in their mind and will replay, come back around. People set boundaries. Well, that's great. But then they date the same person over and over and they keep cutting themselves out, but it comes back in the next form. So judgment is actually, you will feel it when I get to experience this daily in my masterminds, on my calls and in my individual clients, where I had a woman go to the moment where her husband was having an affair. And by the time they were done, you could feel, it's an energetic feel that feels so it might start in the mind, but then it goes into the head heart coherence and you can feel the chills, and you can feel the white that comes around you. And so I think there's a big difference between dissociating into, but then you come back in. And then the second that trigger comes back around, it is you're still being ran by a past perception and a trigger. And again, they're all useful strategies. And I also do perceive there's access points through the body that we can, you can integrate charge through different energy centers and bringing it up through the body, through the higher centers as well. So I think there's many different ways to do it. But I do want to caution, just because I've seen that so many times. People are like, I'm a Zen, I'm Buddha. Meanwhile, they're suppressing, they're repressing, or they're literally
Yes.
dissociation based on past association.
Yes. Such a wise distinction to make, for sure.
You know, I think for me, when I check in with that the way non-judgment feels, it feels safe. And I really, that makes me think of what Robert Edward Grant said recently. And I've been thinking about that a lot. The idea that fear is not the opposite of love, but that actually judgment is. Because when we're going back to the whole root chakra thing too, like it is the foundation, like safety is the foundation. So like everything else is built on top of that. So yeah, safety. And then everything else is built on top of that. And that is where cultivating a strong aptitude with boundaries, like actually not a weak aptitude, but the ability to know the difference between boundaries with myself and boundaries with others, and then having that sorcery to be able to enforce those, then we create that safety, and then everything else is built on top of that.
For sure.
I love that. And I understand I like the energy around the safety of connection and self. But the thing that that I poke a little bit of a hole, or I just be curious what your thoughts are on this, is so many individuals are trying to make their external around them responsible for their triggers or their safety. Like, well,
Yes.
you know this, I have a wound and you act, and they're very much a victim of that. So when I think of safety, that's often from the amygdala trying to be safe, because, and that's also often from a polarized perception. If I do that, that's bad. If I do that. So while I appreciate that word and the importance of that word, I think, and I'm not saying that's the context you're using it in, but I think a lot of individuals in society are trying to make control outside other people's, the way they're reacting around them. And I felt that in sort of like what you're saying is, I get to feel when I'm in a balanced, equilibrated mindset of just love, appreciation, and gratitude for whatever is coming in my experience, I'm so connected to self. I'm not thinking about safety, right? I feel like the animal mind is seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and needs to feel safe, and so I think that's where sometimes we won't take risks in jobs, we won't take risks in relationships, we won't take risks that will, and we stay in that comfort zone, and actually that fear and that unknown and that wanting to be safe can prevent us from stepping it up into, what we're really capable of. And simultaneously, there, depending on how we use that word, there's also this beautiful recognition of being in self and being in home and feeling what, if that's the word safety for, I can appreciate that too. So I just wanted to just put that out there.
Well, I guess what I was talking about is the complete opposite, where you are taking charge from an inside out perspective of your safety. And that's like the true understanding of boundaries. And again, having that magician aptitude with boundaries, knowing how to use them, it actually is it's extending your aura beyond you. And you are protected, and it is not an outside empowerment, and ascension is not an outside in experience. It is only from the inside out. And it matters not what anyone else says. That's the nature of boundaries, is that it's something that we control. Boundaries are not, it's a misunderstanding to think if someone crosses your boundary that like there's something going wrong with that. We cannot control anything that anyone else does out there, anywhere else in the world, but we can control how we respond to what they do. And that is where our aptitude with boundaries comes in play.
Yeah, no, I can use that, right? Because
You're right. It's an inside out thing. Yeah.
no, I love that. I love that. I have a lot around this, right? Because I think there's also that perception of I need to be protected or I need to have boundaries. And when I'm in my high flow evolved soul state, I'm like, what can I invite in like a cup of tea? Like I'm so in self, and soul is a conduit, expressing through me when my human personas, where they're again not in their charges and challenges that I'm seeking better or worse or worrying about aging or whatever the drama of my movie is up to, right? Then I can move that human personas, and then for me, it is just complete presence and love, and I'm not seeking and avoiding anything except connecting to the oneness, the wholeness in the divine in every moment. And then my will matches divine will and it flows through me. And it's just in the isness, then it's not protection or avoiding or boundaries or safety, because it's just inviting the isness of the divine expansion of the moment. That's my experience. And I do challenge some, not yours, other people out there that are, again, they're putting boundaries up, but they're really cutting off parts of themselves. And then those new individuals, well, they're narcissistic. And I'm like, well, great. What are they showing you of yourself? It's like, we actually don't need boundary. And like you just will spontaneously have action potentials in your glial cells when you're actually coming from a space of inspiration and love, the transcendentals. Then the animal mind wants to control the environment and have a lot more boundaries versus really getting present in the moment, inviting whatever experience in, like again, like a cup of tea.
Yeah. And if we experience something triggering or prompting, we are likely attracting that experience for the opportunity to just demonstrate the aptitude you're talking about, which is to be in that spot or self-love or however you want to describe it, but to not get overly charged from it, ultimately.
I love that. And like you said, it's the gift to point to that trigger point and what's ready to be integrated and healed inside. Yeah, I totally agree. I love that.
This has been, just so insightful. I think that our Noah, wonderful producer Noah, is probably going to have to do this into 2 parts so we can digest all of the energetic, meatiness of this incredible opportunity that the 3 of us have had, coming together. And Donna, I just wanted to invite you to please, if you would kindly share with our listeners how they could access you and your work and your mastermind groups, or individually, some ways that we can reach you.
Well, I so appreciate that. It's www.donnaparker.com. It is in the making. My website should be up soon, in the next week. And Donna Andrews Parker on Facebook, and Global Coach D Parker. That's wise for me, Michelle, to know my Instagram.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm a social media person. I don't really know mine. It's okay.
Review technology, right when we started, I balance identity where I have genius, and then where I really have a lot of density. And then otherwise just donna.parker@comcast.net. Right now, those are the best ways to access.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
I'm so grateful. And I feel the neediness and the richness of this. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity. So thank you. I love having individuals inspired to expand consciousness. And so I so appreciate the opportunity. So thank you both. And I'd love to have you both share mine on my podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. We would be honored, and we're humbled to have share time and space with you today. Thank you so much. I just want to leave our listeners with just maybe a little aperitif, after the meaty meal. And it's just we're going to do just a little prompt to get you guys thinking, what communication behavior within yourself might you be ready to kind of let go of, or shift, or come into awareness with, or learn to really love, or to learn how to laugh at that, or to say that's the part of me that is looking for that Academy Award. And what new response, like, are you ready to rehearse within you when you realize those things about you? So I just kind of wanted to like give folks a little bit of just a little question to invite within ourselves some more exploration, like just a little prompt, a little opportunity. And bro, I know to take us on out, you're going to probably bust an affirmation for us.
Thank you again, Donna. This was
Mm,
a true pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I am present in the present. My voice is empowered because I feel safe and secure with who I am. I communicate mindfully with others and with myself. My feelings and emotions are wisdom and information. I am the observer and therefore the magician. My gratitude is my wizard's wand. I hold the skeleton key. I am safe, and I'm in gratitude for it all.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so, so very much. That was beautiful, bro. And y'all, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. Until next time, pause, breathe, and enjoy the present. It is your present. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Empowerment Unleashed Now. Please subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and let us know how this helped you.
Join us right here every week for another episode.
Coming in hot. Like, what was that? Like, we were all business. So, like, this episode title is Behavior Speaks, the Hidden Power of Communication in Creating Change. And, like, to me, this was totally tripped out because we just went like deep fast.
Mm-hmm.
It was hilarious when Donna came on and she was like, am I in the right meeting? I felt like it was another like Wizard of Oz moment for us. Like, who was the door going to be like, oh, sorry, you know? And I was just like, yes, Donna, there's two of us. So it was really like a funny, and I feel like we had to like, I don't know, just go deep quick. So she wasn't like, who are the two clowns, you know?
Yeah.
That would
On
be
point.
my inner child afraid of rejection speaking, which, you know, like love her too, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I know that you're away at a sad event. So this is my macabre humor. Is this a bad time to ask you how Pretty in Pink's coming along?
No, I don't have a guitar on me. And yet another excuse, Mike. I'm having to get more creative week by week.
Have you learned the song?
I've sat down with it a little bit. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
There was something. Did you listen to our episode with Steve Rame?
No.
Could you please listen? Because not only do I thank you and show gratitude, but I think I also like kind of held Steve's feet to the fire about something, and I can't remember what, because I said to him, I've been lied to on this podcast. Was like, what? And I was like, yeah, like Scott was supposed to do Pretty in Pink like the next time we convened for the podcast. And like, it's this ongoing sticky thing now that like we're talking about. And I'm guessing that it's going to be like a birthday present.
Mm. Yes. I
Well,
like
you
the
think
sound of that.
you think that you can have it down by like July?
Yeah, it's appropriate cancer season.
It's a feelings song. Well, all right, bro. Noah's going to be proud of us. I feel like it's like he left the kids at home and like, you know, like dad's away and then like he comes back and we actually like clean the house. Like we did all of our chores. We did what we were supposed to.
I think so. I guess we'll get the report card.
We'll get the report
Mm.
card for sure. And I'm just really proud that like you mastered the Zoom link thing because I don't know, there's some damn QR code thing that was coming up on my phone. And Noah was just like, we'll get on Zoom at 1:00. And dude, I'm not kidding you, bro. Like clockwork by like, I don't know, it's like 12:37 or something. Like he was like, yeah, Scott gave me the login. We got the link. And I was like, phew. Another Gen X technical crisis averted.
Yeah.
We did it, bro.
We did it. We're in it.
We're learning.
We're rolling with the Aquarian age.
Oh my God. Seriously, we are so rolling. I mean, I feel like there's half of me that's rolling, and I feel like there's half of me that's like clinging to the life raft. Like this Gemini season, I don't know, man. It's a lot, but that's for another time, my brother, because I'm just glad that we got to say the hi and welcome at the end.
Yes. Still 2 more decades to go for the Gemini season too.
Oh.
You're going to feel most comfortable in the 3rd decan, I think.
You know, I felt a shift when we went to a 5-degree day. Like I felt like a total shift.
Mhm.
And you know, like I think for me, because my Gemini rising is 9, my Mercury sits at 23. I know Thomas tell people so much. Like, so I'm thinking that by like this weekend, like I'm gonna feel like, okay, I'm kind of in my groove, but also
Yeah, maybe around 9 then you'll hit it.
if I can just ask you, like this Saturn and Aries transit, how long is that shit gonna be?
Like, how long is Saturn going to be in Aries?
Yeah, it's like a long ass time, isn't it?
Yeah, several years.
7, right?
Several. I'd have to look up on the chart. It's, you know how it's not exact each time, but it's several. It's a few.
Can you give me a range, a greater than and a less than?
Let me
I need to know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Because my Saturn sits in Aries at 24 degrees.
I mean, it will moonwalk very briefly, retrograde back into Pisces one more time before it's full on.
I mean, if you say
Aries.
greater than 7, I'm going to be like, wow, okay, here we go.
I don't think it'll be that many
Really?
years. Neptune is usually around like 12.
Oh, that's what I was.
Neptune's longer. Yeah.
That's what I was confusing. Okay, so Saturn.
It's like,
Listen, you didn't do the pretty in pink. Can you just come up with a calculation?
Saturn's usually like 3 or 4 years. Like, it looks
All
like
right.
it would be about, about 3.
About 3.
Yeah.
3 years from now.
2.5. Yeah. It'll be 28 when it exits. 2020.
Shout out to all the Aries
April.
out there.
So roughly, right around 3 years from now. Yeah.
All right. I can do it. 3 years. At least I'm a 24 degree. I can do this. I can do this.
My Saturn is at 0. So I'm actually kind of feeling okay right now that it's at.
You with the 0.
But boy, once it starts moving out of 0, it's in my 8th house. So Aries is. So,
what are you going to say to Robert Edward Grant when we interview him and like he says there's no 0? What are you going to do?
I'm going to agree, but there's going to be a philosophical discussion about it.
Because 0 is your hero. I know that. No, this is gonna be a good run. Like we're gonna get him. We're gonna ask our friends that we can like reach out to, and we're gonna try to get that genius. We have to get a little better before he comes on.
Yeah, let's keep working.
We'll keep at it. All right, guys, keep listening. Stay empowered. Thank you guys so much. Remember, you're the expert on you.
Peace.
Peace out.